next video is called Men Tend to Be Better People, Pearl Davis on Feminism and Traditional Wives. Let's take a look. I can already kind of see how this will go.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Well, model Emily Ratajkowski, one of my favourite dimwits, sparked controversy recently by claiming that getting divorced before 30 is chic.
So it seems that a lot of ladies are getting divorced before they turn 30. And as someone who got married at 26, has been separated for a little over a year, 32, I don't think there's anything better. If there is nothing better than being in your 30s, still being hot, maybe having a little bit of your own money, figuring out what you want to do with your life. For all of those people who are stressed or feeling stressed about that, about being divorced, like it's good. Congratulations.
It's like, congratulations. God, she's ridiculous. Well, divorce is certainly becoming more common, and marriage itself is becoming a fierce frontier in the raging culture wars. On the one side, there are feminists rejecting a dated concept. On the other, so-called tradwives who think it binds our societies together. Well, tradwives spend their days dutifully cooking and cleaning while their husbands go to work. Esther Williams, who's a 25-year-old tradwife, has amassed hundreds of thousands of followers by showing off her tradwife life online. She even gave up a job to be the perfect wife. So is she and others like her saving society?
Those videos literally look like my dream. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to be a wife, be a mother, literally just be at home all day. I cannot wait to be able to have an entire day to showcase my skills in homemaking and my skills in cleaning and my skills in cooking. Like, genuinely, I love these things, and at the moment I don't have time to do them. Well, I do, but not as much time as I would like. I have a very small amount of free time at the moment, working a lot, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not married yet, so can't wait for that day to happen. And yeah, and to be a mother. And those videos of just like countryside and being outdoors and baking and making jam and conserves and preserving things. Oh my gosh, cannot wait. And I can't wait to grow my own food as well. Cannot wait. Oh my gosh, and to have animals and a cow and milk the cow every morning. And sheep and goats. Anyway, sorry.
Or are they selling out the sisterhood? Well, joining me now is traditional wife and influencer Esther Williams, and in the studio, the socialist and author Grace Blakely and YouTuber Pearl Davis. This might be the best lineup in the history of television for a debate of this nature. So I'm very excited. All right, Esther Williams, let's start with you as the trad wife. Sell it to me. Why do you think we should all go back to having trad wives in marriages?
Well, I believe that, I actually don't believe that everyone should be a traditional wife. I think that it is a choice, and I think it's a lovely choice if a woman wants to simply be a wife and a mother, and that's enough for her. And it's a simple way of living with traditional gender roles. It's balanced, and we don't have to do it all as women. I think we've proven that it's possible, but at what cost, right?
Right, and in terms of what being a trad wife involves, what do you think it means to be a trad wife?
Well, to adhere to traditional gender roles. So what I mean by that is the husband, he is the provider of the home. He goes out, he works, and he knows how to protect his family if need be. And the wife, she's the homemaker. She does the cooking, she does the cleaning, and she takes care of the home and children if there are any, and herself, of course. So it's adhering to traditional gender roles.
Okay, Grace, I'm sure you thoroughly agree with this, don't you?
Look, I mean, what Esther's just said about the fact that women should be able to choose, obviously I completely agree. And, you know, men should be able to choose as well. I think the feminist critique of traditional gender roles and gender ideology isn't that some people like to stay at home and others don't. It's that you shouldn't be bound to pursue a certain life based on the sex that you were born into at birth. The one issue I do have is, I know actually a friend of mine whose sister got involved in the tradwife movement in the US, basically. She was quite young. She got married to someone who was like, this is what we're doing. You're going to be a tradwife. And basically came to regret it. She felt like she'd been controlled, like her life became very small, and she couldn't get out. She couldn't escape because, you know, she'd lost all her friends, and this has become basically her entire life. And it concerns me that sometimes we see this narrative on social media that women have to be a certain way in order to get a husband. So you have to be this like particular model of femininity for people to love you. And I think that's really sad, because I don't think anyone should have to shave off any parts of themselves to be loved, or to you know, find a husband, or, you know, anything like that.
All right.
Right, so she doesn't think that you need to be a particular type of person or to attract a man. I mean, I don't understand that, because if you're not feminine and you haven't got the characteristics which are attractive to men, you're not going to be attractive to men, so you're not going to find a husband. It's kind of common sense. I don't understand why she has a problem with facts. I mean, maybe you would attract a man who isn't very masculine, but I personally wouldn't want that. If that's her thing, then okay, she can go be as masculine as she wants to. But yeah, because what you are, you will attract the opposite, because that's just how it works. For every force, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So you're going to attract the opposite to what you are. So if you want to be masculine, that's fine, but you're going to be attractive to very feminine men. But she's probably on the pill, so she probably already is.
Pearl, what do you think?
I think it's a good that we're seeing a return to traditionalism. Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
How
I don't know.
How is the feminist movement of the last few decades? How has it gone for you? I mean, when you look at it and see how women have progressed, do you think it's been largely a force for good, or do you think, as the tradwives do, that perhaps we've lost that sense of gender rules, for want of a better phrase, which actually work very well for many people?
I mean, we've seen families disappear. You know, I saw a study the other day that said only 25% of, I mean, this is an American stat, but American households have families. So I guess there's positives and there's negatives, but it's like at what cost, you know?
What to you?
150 years ago, the average woman had 7 kids, 85% of people were married.
I mean,
You know,
there was also
now-
much
now-
higher infant mortality,
but the
and
thing
women
is,
died very young, and, you know.
I mean, women were more depressed than ever before. We're on antidepressants.
I mean, there are a lot of...
Women over the age of 45 are the least happy demographic.
There are a lot of very
the
complex reasons for that.
Well,
I think it's
and the
important
issue
to...
you have is women like Emily Ratajkowski. You know, marriage, again, I've said this before, marriage isn't marriage anymore. The average marriage is 7 years. We have things like no-fault divorce, leave if you're unhappy. So
what does that mean, marriage isn't marriage anymore? Because
Well,
there have been so many marriages over the course of history where people have been very unhappy. Either the man or the woman has been very unhappy, and they've been forced basically to stay in a marriage. It could have been an abusive marriage, it could have been an emotionally abusive marriage.
Was
and
about,
that would,
it was
we
about,
have one life. Why would you spend it with someone who doesn't make you happy?
Marriage was about duty. And this is the problem we have with women. Like men tend to be better people than us. Yeah, they really do. They tend to... No. They tend to do the right thing.
They are a much maligned species, I agree.
I mean, there's a reason we have phrases like a man of his word, right?
Yeah.
A woman of her word. Because men will actually stick things out. Women, when shit gets hard, we just leave. And you're proving my point. What was your first answer? My happiness, right?
Of course. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone deserves to be loved.
The family doesn't work when it's about you. It's supposed to be about your kids.
Well,
and that's the problem
in
modern
everyone.
There's
a balance and a compromise in relationships. Am I allowed to talk now?
Okay, go ahead.
Look, I think relationships are about balance. They're about compromise. They're about knowing and understanding yourself, learning to, know and understand another person. Eventually, potentially, if you want to, bringing children into the world and teaching them how to do that as well. Teaching them to balance a sense of their own identity with the love that they have for another person.
Did you say marriage is about learning to find yourself or discovering yourself? Since when? Because I don't think that's the main point of marriage. I think you could find yourself through it, but I don't think you're going into a marriage thinking, okay, I'm going into this marriage trying to discover myself and find myself. That's like the worst recipe for disaster ever. Or the best recipe for disaster ever, I should say. Like, if you're going into a marriage focusing on yourself and focusing on finding yourself and trying to, better yourself in a way, just focusing on that, and then the other person's focusing on you because that's how it's supposed to be, then there's going to be a massive imbalance there. They're both, you and your partner are both focusing on you, and then he's going to feel neglected, and then it'll just end in disaster, basically. But if you the way you should go into it is going into it trying to discover your partner, and you're both doing that together, trying to discover each other and learning every day what works and what doesn't, and what the other person likes and what they don't, and trying to sort of change certain things about yourself to become better for your partner. That's what marriage is. And if you don't believe that's what marriage is, then you shouldn't be getting married, because you truly don't believe in marriage, because you don't understand what it is fully. Yeah, marriage is definitely a choice, and it's really hard. People completely underestimate how hard marriage is. And I've heard this firsthand, like, people think it's easy and they just do it on a whim without really thinking about the consequences. And that's why, like they're saying, we have a massive rise in divorces, because people get married without realizing what marriage is about, and they're too self-absorbed, especially women. It's true what Pearl is saying. It's usually women who are more self-absorbed in a marriage, and they want to focus on themselves, and they think that they could do better, and they have, temptations in those ways, and it's sad. But, social media is telling women to be more self-absorbed, and they're saying it's a good thing, so I'm not really surprised.
And, for example, I know an older woman, actually, who's a friend of our family, who got divorced at about 60. She had, this lovely family. They were together since they were 18. And she said, I got to a point after I'd stopped being a mother and, I was just kind of getting on, I realized I'd lost my sense of who I was. And I didn't really feel like I knew who I was anymore, because I'd always just been a wife and a mother. And I wanted to go out and explore that. And I think that's fantastic. Good for her.
What is traditionalism?
I don't know what you think traditionalism is.
I would say a modern mentality is me before the family. I would say traditionalism is the family before me, especially in women.
You're onto something.
And so what it's interesting you said 60-year-olds, because, I've interviewed 600, 700 people roughly in the past year and a half. I've done hundreds of shows interviewing people about relationships. And what I find is the 60-year-olds a lot of those women led their daughters astray. There's a reason we're in this mess, right? A lot of those women had the wrong mentality when it came to marriage, and had exactly the mentality that you're talking about.
Which is that one should prioritize balancing one's own sense of identity with compromise in a relationship with someone else.
It's myself before the marriage.
But that's, again,
and it's really unfortunate, because I would say the women of our generation really are suffering because of the advice of the women of the past.
There's an interesting point here, right, which is that we do live in a very individualistic society, and we're all told, actually, I think a lot of the time, in our relationships as well, you have to be a certain way if you want to receive love. You have to abide by these norms. Yeah. You have to be a certain level of attractiveness. You have to earn a certain amount of money. It's all about you. And that's not what love is.
All right, let me bring in... All right, listen, it's actually been very interesting listening to this. Let me bring it back in Esty. So Esty, in terms of trad values, like, my wife puts the bins out, for example, right? I've never asked her to. She's just adopted that role in our house. So I never put the bins out. I don't know if I should feel ashamed of myself. I do other stuff, but I don't put the bins out. As a trad wife, do you put your bins out? Is that part of the gender rule of the 50s? Is that what used to happen? Or is the man supposed to do that? I mean, how do these rules work in reality?
To be honest, it has nothing, I don't want to say nothing. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the 50s and the 60s. Especially in our household, I enjoy the aesthetic, and I think that's where people get a little mixed up with my channel. But well, to answer your question, actually, I don't put the trash bins out. My husband does that, but I think we have this this thing in our household where he does most of the outdoor work. I do all the indoor work. Of course, he works and provides, and I'm the homemaker. That's what works for us. But
in relation to what Pearl said, is part of that a sense of being dutiful and having no problem actually with being dutiful in a marriage?
Yes, I believe that traditionalism it is putting your family before yourself, and I think it is having those traditional values that were once definitely more in place in God, family, and love. And we live in a very selfish society now. You see self-love printed everywhere, right? And women, speaking of divorce and marriage, women are leaving marriage far more easier than men, and they are doing it because they think there's something better out there for them, that the grass is greener on the other side. And they're finding out that is wrong, and they're going through divorce after divorce. And you know, marriage is a bond, and it's a sacred bond where two become one under God, and that's beautiful, and you have to protect that at all costs. And I think part of that is putting your partner's needs before your own every single day. And I try and do my best, and I think of my husband as much as I can and what will please him and make him happy.
I love the sound of this. Sorry, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't dare to express an opinion.
I think that's...
Piers' true feelings came out there. He was just sat there like, whoa, what is this creature? I've never seen this before. It's so true. Like, that was just a natural reaction. As a man, he felt some kind of way hearing that. As did I. I'm like, yeah, this is amazing, because this is my dream as well. And I think a lot of women actually are waking up to the fact that this is actually the best way to live. It is what fulfills us the most as human beings. It's our purpose. It's how God created us to be. Literally in the Bible, a woman should serve her household. Proverbs literally goes into exactly how the perfect woman should be according to what God created and what God intended. And what we're seeing right now is the opposite of that. Women completely self-absorbed, completely selfish. Everything's about them. Everything's about, like, oh, I could do better. Oh, you know, models all over Instagram. And you're looking at that and comparing your man to a model on Instagram and thinking, oh, could my man be better? Yeah, maybe. Like, he's not good enough for me. I'm going to find somebody else now. And all of this is, leading to divorces, and also just dynamics not being right. And you don't even realize that it's weighing down on you when you're in a relationship with a guy who, for example, isn't masculine enough and isn't actually fulfilling his role. Even if you don't think that way, deep down it will be affecting you, and you won't even realize it. You won't even know what the problem is, but it's because the dynamics are off. Women are providing, men are staying at home. It's like, what's going on? And it does sometimes cause men to feel like they haven't got a purpose because they're not doing what is right for them. They're not doing what comes naturally to them. They haven't got that purpose of earning money, and that's how their minds work. That's what they want to do naturally, and they're not able to do that in some cases. So it is really sad watching the dynamics get all messed up, and you can see the consequences of that daily.
You know, a lovely way to think about relationships if it's reciprocal.
Yes.
You're talking about God and family and tradition.
This is the
Paul, can I
problem.
please
Women always
finish
keep
my
score.
sentence?
Life isn't about
I thought
keeping
women
score.
were supposed to, recognise their place and learn not to speak over other people. No, so look, I think it's reciprocated. You talked there about religion, about Christianity, and about self-love. You know, the kind of most important commandment. There's two most important commandments: love your neighbour as yourself. So that requires a foundation of self-love and respect for oneself and knowledge of one's own identity and what one wants to be able to receive and give the love that you're going to have in a solid and healthy relationship. I think it has to be mutual.
You're not looking forward to getting you all back in about 10 years' time to see if either of you two are married and have stayed married, and to see particularly, Esther, if you're still married and still happily married and still feel exactly the same way you do today.
I mean, who looks happier? Do you know what I mean? The woman in the blue who looks sort of stressed out, and, her skin looks like she's been through the wars. Her hair is thinning. She looks unhealthy. She looks depressed deep down. But I don't even think she realizes this, but it's what I can see from an outsider's perspective. And then Esther's there, glowing, happy. Her skin is radiant. She looks literally like she's the happiest person, and I can literally see a physical, visual representation of who is happier in this, and it's not her. It's not the woman in the blue. She doesn't seem happy to me, and it's not just what she's saying. Even from the moment I saw this, and I didn't even know what her views were, I could tell from the outset that that's what she's going to be speaking about.
Today about what marriage should be. That would be a really interesting show in about 10 years.
How happy we are in general with our lives and all the other many rich aspects of our relationships and our careers and all of these things.
Yep. Great debate. Thank you very much, ladies.
Yeah, you look very happy. Not. Oh my goodness. Yeah, very interesting views there. I would have to say I do lean on Pearl and Este's side of seeing things. Like I said, definitely my dream to live out that trad wife life one day. Can't wait. One day soon, I'm going to say.